Happy New Year, everybody. What does 2020 look like to you? For me, it is my commitment to excellence, to greatness, to being myself, right? When I'm looking at what is happiness, what does that look like for me? That has a lot of different spindles, but I'll break it down very simply. For me, happiness has to do with the way I feel about investing in myself physically, investing in my family and their growth, investing in my business, my profession, and in my spiritual growth. All these things will define what happiness is for me. And the good news is that they're all internal things. It's nothing that I have to look externally to find that validation, that vindication. And what I want you guys to focus on for 2020 is internally, what does that drum beat sound like? And why are you not following it? Because the Harris poll, they come out and they say that happiness, about 31% of Americans would describe themselves as happy, which is an awful number. The idea that 7 out of 10 people are living a life that makes them feel less than excited to wake up. But they obviously have this belief that there is nothing that they can do about it, which is the problem that we often face when you really think about the decisions that we make every single day. They're often tied to the fact that we believe that there are no other options. We've settled in some way or another, and we've gotten used to settling, where we make decisions where we're like, okay, I had a fear and I got over the fear, but now I just have the habit of not doing something. I have the habit of thinking and overthinking and procrastinating and wondering and doubting myself. But if you build the confidence in yourself, then you should be able to say, okay, I was doubting myself and I had a good reason to. I was ill prepared, I was stepping out on a limb, but now I've done the investing. I've invested in myself, and now I feel much better about the decisions that I make. And if you're like me, you will realize in that moment that you've actually built the habit of not taking action, where you lost the discipline, you lost the motivation, you lost the passion, the willpower, whatever word you want to lose, you've lost it. You built a habit of thinking and not taking action. And I've fallen into that, where at one point I was dealing with the fear of judgment, where I just didn't want to put my thoughts out there. And then when you battle that and you finally get over that, well, now I just have a habit of hesitating, to not thinking, not doing. And so then I had to take a step back and I said, okay, Dre, well, what are we going to do now? Well, now we have to start rebuilding the habit of taking action. Now, some may use the word discipline, some may use the word willpower, some may use the word motivation. Whatever that word that you want to use, it doesn't change the fact that you have built a habit of not doing anything. And then when you wake up on January 1st, you're like, okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to change the way that things have been to the way things could be and the way things should be. But again, that's not something that just happens automatically. We got to put the work in on that. We got to hold each other accountable. Accountability is a great thing. My promise to you guys, as I rise to the challenge, as my commitment to you for the year 2020, I will put out a video every single day. I will put out a podcast episode every single day. I will write an article every single day. I am going to do what it takes to create the habits, to create the life, and to create the situation that I know is the drum beating inside of me. And now I do want to make the distinction. We are not talking about not being content. I am very content. I am very happy. I'm very pleased. I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful for my life and everything that's inside of it. But I'm not complacent. And what I mean by that is I believe a lot of people are complacent. They make decisions that they know, the 7 out of 10 at least, where their life is unhappy, where they know that there's something more that they should or could be doing, and they're saying, well, I'm content with the life I have. No. You're complacent. You're lazy. You're not taking action. You got to get up and you got to do something. You can't be complacent and be content and be happy with your life. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, there's people out there that have everything and they still aren't happy. And you're right. There's lots of celebrities, there's lots of famous people that have committed suicide over the years, and they've had lots of money, they've had lots of fame, they had everything that you and I would think someone would want in a life, yet there was something missing. And I would subscribe that the thing that is missing is that internal drumbeat that allows us to know what it is that we're really seeking when we're looking for happiness. The mistake that you see a lot of those people do is they're looking externally. They're doing what they have learned other people think a happy life looks like. Well, if I have lots of money, then surely I'm happy. If I have a beautiful spouse, then surely I'm happy. If everybody loves me and they ask for autographs and I'm being interviewed everywhere, surely they love me. I should love myself. Life is good. But when you ask yourself, what is happiness? Because it's internal, it has little to do with all those things around you. Those things really don't affect what makes you happy. Right, at the end of the day, happiness has to do with how we perceive the life that we interact with. Right? That's really what it has to do with. So if you perceive yourself as lacking value, it doesn't really matter how much stuff you have, because the way you perceive your interactions is you're just waiting for someone to expose you. You don't think that it's ever going to truly be enough because you have that feeling inside that just says, I'm not enough. But the opposite is also true. Where internally, if you're like, look, I am greatness, I love helping people, then it doesn't really matter quite how the external picture looks. Right? Like you can see something that's not quite there yet. And you know, insert any of those famous authors and artists where they die and then all of a sudden their artwork is like all over the place and people are paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for their artwork. I know Van Gogh, it said that he sold one painting in his entire life. Now, could you imagine waking up every day and making a painting, or at least every week, and then people just didn't want them? The average person would say, well, that must mean that it's not for me, that I must not quite be the artist because no one's buying my artwork. But Van Gogh didn't have that concern, right? His definition of happiness, the way he looked at things internally, it didn't really matter if anybody bought his artwork because he wasn't making it for other people. And what most of us do is we're often saying, okay, how do I judge whether I'm a good artist or not? Okay, it's by how many people buy my artwork. And if I make a bunch of paintings for a year and only one person bought them, then I must not be a good artist. Or maybe I should change, or maybe I should bend or acquiesce to whatever society is asking of me so that they accept my artwork. What is that famous person doing today? Oh, that one down there. What is it that they're doing to get all the people to want their work? When you make decisions like that, you fall within the 70% that simply aren't happy with their life. Now, I don't say that to discourage you, because at the end of the day, you do want to be able to make a living. You do want to be able to take care of yourself. But I also understand that if you give up too much for the fame, for the money, for the lavish life, then you may end up miserable, depressed, and dare I say, you may end up like some of those tragic stories that we read about. Because if you spend your whole life doing what other people say should make you happy, you may find that you've just created your own prison. Often we look at these decisions where we think that we're doing the right thing because that's what everybody else thinks is the right thing, but the drumbeat inside of you, the achoja, the rise to the challenge, that beat that's saying, rise up, warrior, it's asking you to do something a little different, something that other people don't accept. And that's what Van Gogh did. I believe I read that he made like 900 paintings and only sold one while he was alive. Can you imagine walking up to him like, Van Gogh, what you doing? He's like, I'm making a painting. Everybody's like, what, Van Gogh? How many have you sold? Well, I only sold one. Van Gogh, that's what you said last year. When are you going to hang that up? I like painting. I'm a painter. I'm an artist. It's what I do. It doesn't really matter what other people are saying. And now some people would say, oh, it's a shame that he died before. If only he could see how famous and how everybody loves his artwork. Maybe. But he was never really interested in that anyways. It was never about what other people said. He didn't need that. And I was to submit to you that his life was more complete, more happy than the person who acquiesced, who created artwork that they created just to be sold. Are you creating artwork just to get the sell? Because if you are, you're probably in that 70% that's not happy. So what I'm asking you in 2020 is to rise to that challenge. Believe yourself when you tell yourself, this is what I should be doing, however that looks. And if you're not there today, let's take the steps to get there. I promise you, if you're not taking any steps, you won't get there. You gotta take a few steps every single day, and you'll be surprised how those little steps add up into a long journey. It's just something that I believe that the average person, where we're thinking, okay, I really like the way that story ended. How can I become that? And we forget the journey that the hero goes through. You don't just wake up a hero, you gotta figure things out. You gotta learn how to use your powers. You're breaking stuff early and you don't know quite how to have the finesse touch if you have super strength. You don't know how to slow down if you have super speed. You don't know how to land if you know how to fly. When we're trying to figure out our superpower, how we're going to live our life, what we're going to do this year, I ask you simply to rise to the challenge. And rising to the challenge is first understanding that you're not doing it based off of what other people are saying. Because what other people are saying is often going to change all the time. And if you just stood right where you were at, eventually people come around to that. And you'd rather be the first one being you than someone else is doing what you would have done. And then you're trying to play catch up, where people are saying, man, this person just does whatever it takes to get a sell. You don't want to be that person. You're not creating artwork for the sell. You're creating artwork based on the drum that is chosen inside of you that is telling you to rise to the challenge. And you're going to make sure that you want to do that. Second, whenever you're making these goals, whenever you're trying to figure out what your life should look like, you got to stop allowing the doubters to tell you what is reasonable. What is reasonable often irks me. When people ask me what is reasonable, well, the economist in me just says, okay, what's reasonable is what has already happened, right? That's really what is reasonable. My past experiences is what is reasonable. When I'm making plans, if I'm making reasonable plans, it should be based off of what has already happened. That is a reasonable expectation. There's something that's very unreasonable about the idea of saying, one day I think we're going to have this thing called the World Wide Web, where we're going to be able to connect with each other. That's unreasonable. The idea that we're going to have these smartphones that have the technology inside of them that is equivalent to a computer 20 years ago and it's going to fit in their pocket. That's unreasonable. When we talk about having deliveries by drones, and when we talk about same day or next day or 2-day delivery, these things are unreasonable. There's a point in time where things took weeks to be delivered. When you talk about tracking, where I know where my stuff is at all the time, that's unreasonable. But if that's what the drum inside of you is saying, you gotta go for it. Be unreasonable. Be willing to bet on yourself. Now, what does reasonable look like in my space, right? Reasonable for me would be, well, let's do a video or a blog post. Let's do one thing. You can't do everything, Dre, but that's what the drum inside of me is saying. My rise to the challenge is saying, Dre, there are people out there who need to hear what you have to say, and you are one of them. I am one of them. If you want people to believe in you, stop telling them what you're going to do and just start doing it. Because everybody's got a story to tell, everybody's got a reason, but everybody doesn't have a plan. As Mike Tyson used to say, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So how do we prepare? Well, let's make a plan. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Let's not spend too much time. If you sleep on it, I promise you, you'll wake up tomorrow with a new problem that you could deal with. But I look at your journey kind of like looking at a fog. If you're standing in front of the fog, how far in front of you can you see? You could probably see maybe a few feet in front of you. But every time you take another step in that fog, how far can you see now? You can see a few more feet in front of you. And before you know it, if you take enough steps, then you can see on the other side. You can see the beauty, the clarity of everything that's going on. But the mistake that most of us make is we're standing in front of the fog and we're trying to see the other side without taking any step whatsoever. You'll probably learn that that's impossible. Fogs don't work that way. You'll never see the other end of the fog unless you start taking steps to get to the other side. And then things will clear up for you as you take those steps. I want you to take those steps. Allow things to clear up for you as you take your steps. Make changes. I forget who it is, but a smart person I often listen to, he says, look, When you take action, two things are going to happen. You succeed or you fail. If you succeed, do more of it. If you fail, learn from it, get smarter, and do it again. Learn from it, get smarter, do it again. If you take action, you cannot lose. You can only lose by not taking action. I'll say it one more time. If you take action, you can't not lose. But if you don't take action, there's no way to win. So for 2020, my promise to you is to take action every single day. And if I'm going to get to a point where it's consistent as far as the time, but until that time, all I can promise you is I will not go to sleep until I post the content that I promise you that I will post. And we're going to make this year the year that we rise to the challenge. Or in the Urhobo dialect, it is a choja. Right? Almost slipped for a second there. Continued blessings. I'll see you guys again.